Broadcasting from Hollywood, California, it's Grants Rants, Hollywood Talk.
Meghan and Harry make their exit, but they're not the only ones. Danielle Staub exits New Jersey Housewives forever. Pump Rules returns, and we've got their alleged salaries. And we take a look back at the infamous Trump Rosie feud and its impact today. That and more with Meghan O'Donnell right here. Let the ranting begin. I am joined via Skype by Meghan O'Donnell. You know her from the Bravo Happy Hour podcast, and she's been a guest on Grants Rants in the past. Welcome to Grants Rants. Welcome back.
Hey, it feels good to be back, and we have so many fun topics to talk about. 2020 is off to a great start.
Yes.
Not like politically, but not like in the real world, but in the reality pop culture world, things are ablaze. So
well, thank God, because I've been mourning the loss of pop culture. I feel like everything has just turned into clickbait and you know, Trump. And I had a whole series of Insta stories where it was like, how is pop culture now Trump? Like, how? But believe it or not, we're going to be talking about him, but not in the way that you think. That's later in the episode. Don't worry. It's not going to be a mess. It's actually going to be fun because it's old school stuff, old Hollywood talk. But first, I want to talk about this MEGXIT. Meghan, what's her face, and Harry are exiting the royal family. Everybody by now knows this. I'm not here to break any news, but we're just going to give our kind of thoughts and opinions around it. I've got a little bit of extra intel, too, that I did my little research on. So this New York Post cover, I love the New York Post covers because they're so ridiculous. Did you see this? It's like a cartoon version.
I'm finding it right now.
Please do. It's like the cover is like a cartoon of the two of them, like slumming it, basically, like sitting on a couch.
Yeah, that's accurate when you don't have, millions of dollars in family money.
Yeah, like they're like in their underwears watching TV. Like, now what? I don't know. The New York Post, I'm telling you, it definitely is like a special depiction of the world around us, and you can go back and look at so many different covers over the years. But Wednesday it was announced that both of them will be leaving their roles as senior royals and that they're going to split their time between the UK and Canada. They attribute the move to balancing their son's upbringing, charitable entities, and things like that. I learned that there's some type of documentary, and in the documentary, Harry admitted that he had a falling out with his brother, William. What do you make of this MEGXIT story, first of all? Are you interested?
Well, I'm definitely interested. I don't know why everyone really cares. Like, I'm not a big person who cares really about the royal family. However, I was really interested when Meghan came in the picture because, she's like, not white. She's not like that exact person that you would kind of expect, a la Kate Middleton. Exactly. So I was really interested in her kind of bringing a different edge into everything. But I think since she got married to him, probably 2 years ago, and then had baby Archie, she's been nothing but a target for verbal abuse on the internet. Like, she can't go anywhere. She can't do anything. And she's from coming from a life of having fun, not having kids, being a celebrity, being beautiful, having all these fabulous things, and now being like, oh wow, now I have to wear pantyhose every day and smile and wave and do all this bullshit. And then also have our child be called a monkey when he's 8 months old by the press, so I could understand why the two of them are
That's awful.
I started doing research and I was like, why do people care? What could be the maybe another thing, because they were suing one big UK newspaper. I can't remember the name of it, but because of the abuse, and I could just see the two of them. And he's not friends with
rags in New York. We talk about the New York Post here, but oh my God, there's so many rags over there. And it's terrible. And I am surprised because we are in 2020 that you would be calling anybody that, but also at the same time,
right?
The royal family has been the number one target. I just don't know why. There are several royal families across the globe, but this is, for whatever reason, the only one we're told that we should care about. I mean, because like, it's the only one that's reported on. So it's so strange. I think everyone's so quick to blame Meghan. I don't know if we know enough. I don't know if is Meghan really this calculating opportunist that she's being painted out to be? I don't know. I feel like everyone's following a narrative. I'm not defending her either way. I just don't know like if she's really this awful international villain. I
definitely don't think she is. Like, she had a career, she was accomplished. Like, I feel like she was married before and it didn't work out, so she's a divorcee. So she has like lived lives, and so I feel like she's probably like somewhat normal. And like I did say in the beginning, I was like, oh, because he has daddy's money, but like she also has her own money, so she's got making her own bag. But I think they kind of just want like a normal life. Like, why should he be subjected to having this life? Like, he didn't choose this. Yeah, he was born to it, but why does that mean he has to have it forever? It's a title, of course, but like,
right.
I don't know. I feel like it's so antiquated to think that like he has this title and now he has to forever do this. He's like, fuck this. Like, this is boring and this is not the life we want. We could still help people in our capacity with like his, documentary series with Oprah he's starting about mental health. Like, he could still do great things without having the pressure of having to, wave and be like Kate and whatever, William.
I think that's getting lost on people that like she's not. The two of them aren't really chalking out the middle finger to the queen and walking out. I mean, they're still a part of things. Like they said, they're splitting their time and their senior duties they're stepping down from. But I mean, it's not a total rejection. But I mean, they're just making their own choices. And like, look, Harry, I kind of lump Harry into our generation, and I feel like we, as a people, the younger generation, even way younger than us, is Generation Z. I don't know where they're going to go after Z, but the people, way young people, we kind of reject the old way of doing things, and the rules and everything that these two have to follow. I mean, maybe it's not worth it to them. And, everyone's like, oh, Diana, wouldn't she encourage this? She basically hated being part of that clan.
Like, you see it right there. Like, she went her own way. Like, so many women would have never left because of the title, because of the opportunity and whatever. And honestly, the husband could have probably been, fooled around on the side and her be like, whatever, as long as people don't know or people don't find out. If she was so unhappy, whatever, but still wanted the title. So I think she'd be very into this and be proud that he's, standing up for himself and his family, because at the end of the day, like, who you love, like, you gotta stand by your partner. Like, there's only so much that your family can really control after a certain point. And so I think it's great that he's like, I'm with my. And also, wait, I did just hear this. So when they were up in Canada, they were staying at David Foster's house.
The musician?
Like Yolanda Foster. Yes.
Oh, to me,
he's and her are friends.
To me, he is the biggest slime ball. Like, ugh.
Yes.
Ugh.
Oh no, he is like creepy. Yeah. I don't trust him.
Yeah, and he's just like, I mean, how many times has he gone for younger, the upgrade, or I guess the downgrade if you're downgrading an age? But like, I mean, like, it's just such a pattern with him. He's someone who needs to seek therapy. Because, I mean, he keeps seeking these younger models. I mean, I don't mean like they're like that's their job. I mean, it's like models of the same type of woman, and they're just younger in age, and then it doesn't work out, and then he goes to the next one. Like when there's a pattern, you know what I mean? There's something going on. And here's the thing: I'm not really super into these royals. I know people are, like my friend Fern Ronay. She follows them so closely. I'm just not into it. I never have been, but I still question Harry if he's really the biological son and in the bloodline and all that. So I think this very well could be a situation where Harry is like, well, look at them. Look at the pictures when like they walk in processions and stuff. Like, he doesn't look like the father, and there's been rumors forever that he isn't. So I think this might be a situation where it's like, I don't really need to put up with all this, anymore. Like, this isn't my life. I mean, it is, but it isn't. Like, Harry is the one that really needs to do, process all this, and he's the one who's next in line. What do I got to be here for? So I think if he really is not part of that bloodline, then I get it. Just being like, I'm going to respectfully, bow out of these senior duties, but I'll still be in the picture, but limitedly. That's what I would do. That's exactly what I would do.
I wonder when Khloe Kardashian is going to do the same thing. When she just realizes, like, I don't have the same dad as my sisters. Like,
Well,
But
what do you think of this now? Andy Cohen always swooping in.
Oh.
He's saying that he wants Megan for Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. Megan, if you're listening, don't go anywhere near that sinking ship. Absolutely not. That is the worst decision you could make. It is the worst show on Bravo. Don't waste your time. What you need to do is you need to get a syndication deal with Harry to do a daytime talk show or a late night show, and it will get picked up internationally. People would tune in to see you and him having a public voice on a show. That's what you need to be doing. That's my advice for her.
Totally. Well, she's doing this show with Oprah, so they're like going to be producing stuff for Apple TV, I guess, or like Apple streaming is now going to be rolling out like new shows for them. So they're doing that, but I really want her to spearhead the Real Housewives of like Vancouver, like do a little segue into that whole Canadian realm, because I feel like some of those women definitely could bring it, and they've got money. Obviously, David Foster's house, I think, was like $14 million. So wherever he's living, there's got to be some crazies who want to be on the show with her.
Yeah.
But I think she'll go back to doing real acting again.
Let's talk about Vanderpump Rules. Season 8 premiered this week, and I assume you watched?
Of course. It's like the best day of my year.
Must-see
granted, the year
TV.
just started, but no day has been better since.
Well, it took so damn long for the show to come back. I mean, the show should have been on 2 months ago, so I was really annoyed that it took so long. But TV Deets said that it had great ratings for Bravo. I looked it up. It was in the top 10 TV shows on cable that night. By the way, side note, very sad. All of the top TV shows on cable are all on Fox, and like one MSNBC show, and then like a football event or something like it's like, but everything was like, it was like Hannity and Ingram Angle, and it was bleak. And somewhere in there was Vanderpump Rules. And
showing you who's consuming content, like
yeah.
staunch Republicans and pump heads.
Yep. Overnight, the numbers were 1.2, rounding up 1.3 million. But of course, we got to add in delayed viewers and on demand, which is how so many people our age watch. So those numbers are pretty good, and they're actually better. Even in the young demos, they're better than some Housewives. So that just goes to show this is a hit show. However, TV Deets, they say, quote, Bravo viewers are still in love with Lisa Vanderpump. Hold on. Nope, that is don't let me into that. I am not a lover of Lisa Vanderpump, and I don't think Vanderpump Rules has anything to even do with Lisa. So I'm not crediting her. No.
Well, this is the first time I'm airing this on any show, but I'm actually against Lisa Vanderpump now. I hadn't done a rewatch of Beverly Hills in probably I haven't watched like seasons 4 through, I guess now I'm up to season 7 until recently. And she's the worst person ever and has never once taken accountability for any of the bullshit she's ever done. And it's not surprising that she basically had to leave the show, and she left herself because she was going down. And it was insane to watch her fight with people and seriously never once be able to say I'm sorry when she clearly hurt Eileen. Like all this bullshit with Yolanda, like Brandy, like every single person she screwed over, and she couldn't say I was sorry. And that's all they were saying. They were like, we don't care. Like if you just say you're sorry, we can go back to being how we are. And then she would like flip it on them and make them say they were sorry to her.
Right.
And
this is what I say
time and time again. And I'm like, I fucking hate her. I fucking hate her.
This is what I say.
I swear. This is like a whole new thing for me.
You've seen the light. Rewind the tape, people.
It.
No, because I know people enjoy her for the lifestyle and all that, which I get. But if you're like a rotten person, I don't care that you have swans.
And all her shit is built on lies, too. She's a...
Well, did you hear about this?
Where did she get that money from?
Did you hear about this? Now there's a lawsuit. Several former employees are suing her and Ked for not properly paying them wages. They said that Lisa, and here's the word they used, and this is like a mantra for her. Apparently she manipulated, surprise, surprise, and edited time records. They're questioning, this is all alleged, but they're questioning if she met labor laws with proper meal breaks. And, there's all types of rules when you work, and you can only work for someone for so many hours, and there's overtime charges and things like that. Look, the law is the law, and that will determine who wins and loses this case. But, I've heard people have worked for her in the past. It's not as glamorous as it looks on TV. So not surprised to hear about this lawsuit. What do you think?
I mean, I'm not surprised. I think the two of them are so shady. Like, I can never understand if you two have this big restaurant empire, why did like everything always close? Like, I feel like we would have like had some sort of connection to their life back in London. And the one real connection we had was Cedric, who they chased away because he was getting too comfortable with the other people, and you could tell like
Knew too much.
he was becoming a liability. And then we see PK now. And Dorit was like her little bitch the first few seasons that she was on the show because she was like valiantly trying to defend LVP because of PK. And it's like PK is a shyster. Like, and the two of them, I just think they have a shady past. And also, what I never understood is like so many Housewives shows that have any sort of like connection, whether it's like Yolanda going to the Netherlands or, you know, this is a stretch, but, you know, Megan King Edmonds from OC, like they went to Ireland to like see her, try to meet her family. It's all bullshit, but still, like we never went to see their life back in London. So I think like they must have been so shady that they basically had to leave because they had been living like in France before they then moved to the States. So I'm like,
that's
so even
true.
then,
Other than her kids, we've never seen anyone from their family. She's never been able to talk about it. You know, we didn't know that she had a brother until he passed. We knew about Nanny K because she was long dead. So crass.
But I think her and Ken have no one else, and they are literally thick as thieves because they are doing some sort of fraud. And I think because she's smart and charming and, you know, has all this money, all this clout, people don't dig in. Like this car crash into the building, like what the fuck?
Well, that's the thing. It's like that's the thing. It's like for me. Well, I'll talk about that in a second because I have thoughts on that car crash. But for me, it's just like when I feel manipulated as a viewer or as a person, I'm done. I don't need that. I'm trying to be entertained. I'm trying to lose my mind for like 42 minutes and watching Bravo. You know what I mean? It's like when I feel like she's out there trying to, and I see this in West Hollywood all the time with her, these restaurants, and she just capitalizes on people, especially the gay community. It's like, ugh, I'll just take my money somewhere else. I don't really care for her. But yeah, for those who don't know, a Ferrari drove into their restaurant pump, and like, you know, it could have been really bad. It was on a very busy corner. I drive and take that left turn all the time. It's madness. It's a very busy area, but I don't know what the hell happened. Apparently there were no, you know, drugs or alcohol involved, but there is a video and it cuts off. But Ken says, we want to get as much publicity out of this. And then, of course, his team is now saying, I don't know how these people have teams, but I guess if you have money, you can pay for anything. He says that
Dr. John Sessa is his team. Let's be real.
They said it was taken out of context, and that what he continued to say was, we want to get as much publicity out of this that no one was injured. You know, subtext, or I'm just paraphrasing. But I mean, yes, I just don't know if that's something that someone would say naturally. We want to get the most publicity out of this. Like, I would not word it. I just say, oh, thank God that nothing happened.
Also, how, you know, serendipitous that all of this happens 2 days before the premiere of Vanderpump Rules. Like, crazy,
Do you smell
crazy
foul
that this
play?
would happen.
I don't smell foul play because when you have to get now property damage insurance companies, it's going to be a mess for a long time. I don't think that this was.
But see, the thing is that the place was open at the back. Like, I think Ken or one of them tweeted that, like, oh, but we're still open in the back lounge. So it's like, oh, so you guys are still making money, even though this thing fucked up the front.
That's
so
gross.
I don't know.
So
I don't trust them. I just don't trust them.
Again, it's like if the message is, thank God no one was injured or killed violently because of this, you know, that's one thing. But then to go and say, you know, oh, by the way, you can still come and get your pumptini for $18 in the back. Yeah. I mean, like, ooh, I don't know.
Also, like, how does someone like a Ferrari owning driver who's not on drugs or alcohol isn't going to just crash into a building? Like, there would have to be some sort of like footage of the street somehow, somewhere on some building that would show where this was happening and show if there was like a crazy accident or like someone tried to drive into him. Like, there was no like background as to like what happened. It's like, so what was the driver doing? What does the driver have to say about this? He's like,
very odd. That's such a busy area. It's filled with pedestrians and people walking their dogs. There's a very busy corner because right behind that is the Abbey, and the Abbey's always going like a 24/7 nightclub. I mean, I'm just thinking, like, I've seen so many people drive drunk on that road and go over the median, and people have been killed, pedestrians just crossing the street. Like, it's a crazy part of town, but I just can't imagine that anyone would orchestrate that. I'm choosing to believe that that was not intentional. I mean, that's just awful. I want to go back to Vanderpump Rules, though. Salaries were released, apparently. I don't know, this seemed kind of clickbaity to me, but Stylecaster.com listed their estimates. And apparently, Lisa Vanderpump was making $500,000 on Beverly Hills and $500,000 per season on Vanderpump Rules, pulling in $1 million salary a year from the network. Hey, she's got 2 shows. It's not crazy to think about. I think it's, appropriate, even though I don't like her. But whatever.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of money, but then you think like the girls on Atlanta are pulling in like $3 million. Like, so then you think it's like,
Nene should be at like a scale rate. That she contributes nothing to the show. And I'm sorry, but is she really that much of a draw? She's on the show because she's got nothing else going on. No one else wants to put her on their show. New year, I have to be more positive. I'm seeking, I'm doing some work on myself, so I need to not go.
Yeah, first thing is not thinking about Nene
and her salary, and that she doesn't deserve. She doesn't deserve it. $25,000 an episode seemed to be an average cost, an average price tag, I guess, for all these people. So according to this article, Stassi, Kristen, Jax, and Tom Sandoval are making $25,000 an episode, which, I mean, that adds up, but that's not crazy. I can believe that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's normal. Like, they aren't a massively successful show. Like, I think they should be getting more money, frankly. Like, in comparison to, some of these bullshit shows that are on cable TV that, kind of suck and the actors kind of, fall flat. Like, oh, yeah, you might have network money, but, these people bring it. The numbers are there. Like, I think as much as they're, a bunch of dipshits and giving them money really sucks, but, relatively speaking to other TV shows that are just as successful, they're getting paid nothing. But I also think they're young and not young, but they don't know Hollywood money. So they're 25,000, this is amazing. But it's no, you should be getting a lot more because your show is, literally the best.
I mean, if you're making $25,000 an episode and say there's 31 weeks, which there usually are around 30, or we're talking about reunions. I mean, that's $750,000 for one season right there. That's I've just calculated it, $775,000. So
not bad.
Unless my math is wrong. I mean, that's, you're pulling in a lot. Sheena, though, now this is on the other side of things. Sheena, Tom Schwartz, this is my question. Katie, Ariana, Brittany, James, and Lala are between $10,000 and $25,000 per episode. And they said this came from some Us Weekly article back in the day. But I mean, obviously I think most people would get a little bit of a bump each season, especially the main cast. So I question just how accurate all this is, but it's an interesting way to look at it when you're thinking of these people who even told are just waiters and waitresses, but they're making, $750,000 a year,
Yeah, I'll take a bartending class if I can guarantee making $700,000 a year. I think that could be a good idea for me.
Suddenly, I don't feel too bad for their mortgage rates when I know they have to pay off those homes, because it's they're all in couples, so combine your resources, go on, stay on the show for 2 years, and you can pay it off.
Well, someone said to Jax, I saw on Twitter, that they were like, how do you have money, or how are you buying a house? And he's like, I invest in low-income housing, the cannabis industry, and he's like, and I'm on a very successful show, so suck it. And I was all right. I mean, he and I think I heard years ago in an interview too, he was like, I can retire right now. He's like, I made really good investments, and I've heard
that he invests in a lot of different restaurants and different properties and things, so I believe it. Well, when we come back, we're going to be taking a look at Real Housewives of New Jersey, Danielle's permanent exit, or so we're told. And then we're going to do some old Hollywood talk. This is the second installment of a new segment on Grants Rants, and I'm really excited to get into it. Rosie versus Trump. And it's not, again, it's going to be fun, so stick with us. We'll be back in a moment. Now this.
You're listening to Grants Rants. Subscribe and spread the word. There are a lot more rants to come. Listen anytime on all major podcasting platforms. And now, back to the show.
And we're back on the podcast, calling in from the great city of New York, Megan O'Donnell. I'm so happy you're on.
This is the best. I love coming on this show. We could talk for hours about this stuff.
So let's talk about the Real Housewives of New Jersey. Danielle announced that she'll never be returning on Watch What Happens Live to the Real Housewives of New Jersey, the show that made her a household name, the show that made Beverly into Danielle, the book that everybody knows. Basically, she claims that she's been a part of this show for 12 years. Now, she's only technically been on it for 4 out of the 8 seasons. So, and in 2 of those seasons, she was like a friend of. So I don't know if she's really as, ingrained in the fabric of the show as she claims she is. Now, don't get me wrong. She's an original. She has made New Jersey for me, especially in the beginning. I had her on this podcast, which to me was like iconic because it was a great to just have
I had
her.
no idea.
Way back when. It was when she was
Oh
friends
my God,
with Margaret.
that's iconic. I have to go back and listen.
It was when she was friends with Margaret, so it was a limited time. And they were like in the back of some like random SUV. And I was like, I just kept them on the phone and we just went for it. It was great. But Danielle always wanted to spin a story. Who knows what the truth is? Andy said that, this comes to a surprise by me. She was thrown by her decision, especially that she would, and he said this was your decision. That's what he said, or, context basically saying that, and that he was thrown by the word never. Now, so was I, because why would you shut the door on this? You know what I mean? This was like your thing. This is what you're known from. If you Google Danielle's name within the first sentence on the right side of Google, it's going to say from the Real Housewives in New Jersey.
Danielle's not done with this franchise. I think she's just trying to cover her butt a little bit if she maybe gets a lot of public hate from the hair pull that she just did a couple episodes ago, because that's, physical assault. So I feel like she's kind of trying to be like, I'm above this. I don't need this toxic shit. But give us 2 years and we will be seeing Danielle Staub back on our screen. Mark my words.
I think she's trying to get ahead of something. I think that she has pulled something else. Maybe not literally, but I think that she has a fallout with Teresa. And I think that she's trying to get ahead of the negative press and the hate that she's going to get, because we all know those tree hugger fans, those Teresa fans they mean business. So I think that she's trying to get ahead of this so she can bow out early, which is kind of a coward move. But you know who's back in the picture? I actually shouted her out. You know who's back in the picture? It's Kim G. The original busybody in a fur coat, claiming that Danielle
busybody in a fur coat.
I love Kim G. To me, I know so many Kim G's from growing up. That type of person. I would just love to see what she's up to, because I feel like she actually had real money and she was so impressed with herself. So I just love her. But she was claiming that Danielle's decision to leave the show was not in her control, and this was a tweet that has since been deleted. I think that ultimately Danielle was asked to step away by production, the show, especially to get all of this assault, like you said, behind her.
Yeah.
And because God forbid they condone any type of physical fighting, but yet I feel like these women are always pushed to the brink where they almost they're always pushed towards getting physical. So it's like watching any other reality show. It's like, oh, you can't do that. We're gonna have all these guards standing around, these security guards, but yet we want you to fight it out. But yet it could only be verbal. Well, I mean, these women, they cross the line. I just think they got to figure out what it is. You can't have it both ways,
Well, exactly. Yeah. It's we want it up to a point, but what's that line? And that line keeps being crossed in so many different franchises, and each franchise I think has a different threshold for it, and we as viewers accept that in a way. But Jersey is really quick to throw down. I mean, last year didn't Margaret smash that glass? Or actually no, that was Jennifer smashed the glass and pretended it was a shiv. It's that can't be happening. What are we
I know
watching?
these women are thugs.
You can't be condoning this. However, here we are sitting a year and a half later talking about it I have a big smile on my face. So I don't know where the line is, but Danielle will always be iconic, you know, prostitution whore. Like, she is that whore. Like, she's the whore in prostitution whore. Like, she'll always go down in history.
That's it. But any good story producer would not close the door on her permanently.
Exactly.
I feel
and that's why I think they're like, you need to take a step back. You need to go into timeout. And she's like, I know what I did was wrong. I'm going to go to timeout. And you know what? I'm going to keep acting a fool on the internet and getting myself involved that you have to put me back on.
I'm finally watching her like on YouTube, but I don't need her in my house.
Yeah, I did watch her YouTube video where she's now having like the Danielle Staub cooking show, which is really amazing and insightful. It started on, I first saw like the first one like a month ago and I was like, what is this? And then I like ended up watching it. I'm like, what's my problem? But I watched today how to make a Latin lover recipe, and it's just chicken and rice. But I'm like watching this and I'm like, honestly, it was so funny. And I watched like the duration of like in a 12-minute video. And, you know, 7,000 other people have watched it too. So I'm not alone in this.
I can't say I'm that interested. I even fell off with the Brandy Glanville show where she sits in her bed and drinks wine. I haven't seen that in a while. I don't even know if she's still making
There's
it.
Nothing I want to see than a grown woman alone in bed drinking wine. Like, get the fuck out. Get the fuck out and do something. Like, get the fuck out of bed. It's just like your brand can't just be getting drunk all the time. And granted, my show is called like Happy Hour. Like, I'm not drunk all the time. Like, and I would never sell myself as that. Like, it's more of like a concept. But her, she's like, here I'm still drinking.
I love her on my TV screen, but she talk about another person who needs to get in line for some therapy sessions.
Oh my God. Yeah. She needs like twice a week, 2 a days even.
Oh, I want to transition now to this new segment that I just love. Here we go.
It's Grants Rants, Old Hollywood Talk.
Old Hollywood Talk. I love this. This is a look back at a moment in pop culture where we share our thoughts and the impact it has today. And so let's get into it. This is a very old feud. I didn't realize this, but it all stems from the disaster dumpster fire show called ABC's The View. And it's Rosie versus Trump, and both sides are equally ridiculous. I can't wait to get into it. Let's kick it off. I'm going to start here in 2006. It happened. Miss Teen USA, Tara Conner. Remember her? She was targeted for underage drinking and sex.
Love that. I love how people are like, well, I mean, the drinking is a crime, literally, but like the sex, it's like, get over it. She's a young girl. But anyways.
Yeah, apparently she was like seen with other girls, and it was a big thing. And so Rosie was all, trying to, was all shocked about this because Trump had to make a big statement that he was going to give her a second chance. He wasn't going to remove the crown. And so this was a trigger for her. She said that she doesn't enjoy Trump. He's bankrupt and not a self-made man. And basically, I talk about iconic. Here's an iconic quote. He left the first wife, had an affair, had kids both times, but he's the moral compass for 20-year-olds in America. Donald, sit and spin, my friend. I remember this vividly. Rosie is on screen in front of a menorah that's like barely lit. She's in some type of like caftan pre-Lisa Rinna, throwing her hair over her side. Like, I just remember the impersonations. Do you remember this?
Of course. Are you kidding? Well, she is like always been someone who I love because she doesn't give a flying F. And to go before Trump, like even in like his prime, at this point, it was like, this was like peak Celebrity Apprentice time.
True.
Like he always kind of been a target. And I love a deep dive because I was like, oh, this is so weird. I saw that she went to his wedding to Marla Maples in 1993. So they've been feuding for so long. And I think like this must be so like such an old feud where she's always hated him and he's always hated her. And then it just blew up over this.
They just couldn't be more opposite. I mean, we could even go deeper as far as like Trump's feelings towards certain women. I mean, like we're not gonna go there. Don't worry, this is a light show. But yeah, I mean, they just could not be more different people. Donald, in response to all of this, told People magazine that Rosie's a loser and a quote, woman out of control. I just don't know if you can say that anymore about, I don't know, in our current environment, but Again, this is 2006. And he said, I look forward to taking, he wanted to sue her. So he said, quote, I look forward to taking lots of money from my nice little fat Rosie. I mean,
that is so cruel. Like, it doesn't matter who you are. You don't have to be Trump. You don't have to be, like, you don't have to be any person. If anyone called me fat little Maggie, like, as a grown-ass woman, like, I would be done for. Like, who do you think you are? Like, Trump hates a woman with a voice. We all know this. So he definitely didn't like the fact that she has a strong opinion, strong voice, and didn't give in to his BS charm, like, which some people in Hollywood did. But I think he was always so butthurt because she never let him go on to her show. And so he can never understand why she didn't like her. Because it was like that rejection.
When she had the Rosie O'Donnell show, he was never a guest.
Because Trump is like the king of like being rejected and then retaliating against that. Because like, his dad didn't like him. He had all that beef, so he was rejected his whole life. And then always wanted to like be on TV. And you see like on like so many things, like he faked the Time magazine cover. Like that's insane. Like
that's
Trump,
weird.
That is
and then to frame
like,
it, that's an odd thing.
Like you've gone above and beyond to this fame and things like the celebrity that you want. You don't want to be an actor. You don't want to be this. You don't want to be that. You just want to be famous or seen and accepted. But it's like he somehow became the president in all of this.
Well, we're getting there. We're getting there in the journey of the timeline. This timeline was provided by CNN. Thank you, CNN, for doing such riveting journalism.
Hard-hitted
It
work.
made it easy for me. So in 2011, December, Rosie was engaged to Michelle Rounds. The Trump tweet, still, again, we're going to see, this still comes into play today, these tweets, but he said, I feel sorry for Rosie's new partner in love, whose parents are devastated of the thought of their daughter being with Rosie, a true loser. Rosie responded calling him an ass in everything. You're an ass in every way. July 2014. This was another thing. Rosie returned to The View. Well, Trump tweeted that, this is actually something I agree with. I'm actually going to give him some credit. He said that it shows how desperate the show is. She said it's the standard short form fix to a long-term disaster. You know what? He's not wrong.
Not wrong.
The View, I mean, people love it right now because they've figured out some type of combination of nobodies and Meghan McCain. But in 2014, The View was in really bad shape. And if you listen to that book that came out last year all about The View, Ladies Who Punch, I mean, they even said like it was like on the brink of cancellation. So of course they tried. So he's not wrong in that statement. In September 2014, later in the year, he reminded everyone that Rosie started it. So it all came back from that 2006 impersonation. And she did it a couple times. But Rosie gave no Fs. She just didn't like him. She just didn't like him. And, I mean, it is what it is. But I just love that they were so public about it because I don't think you'd see that today. August 2015, there was the debate. Megyn Kelly asked him about his language towards women using the terms fat pigs, dogs, and slobs. I'm rolling my eyes here because I'm like, this is ridiculous. Yeah. The response to that was, only Rosie O'Donnell, which she got a lot of praise for. It's gross.
It's just so gross. Like, you're a grown-ass man. Why are you picking on Rosie O'Donnell?
Why is this feud? Now it's 10 years in, because in September 2016, he's across from Hillary. She called him out for his misogynist ways, and he said that, Rosie was very vicious towards him, and everybody agrees, and nobody feels bad for her. So, I mean, what do you do?
He's a dog with a bone.
Let it go, dude. But now, apparently, today, Trump has not tweeted about Rosie since he was elected. Rosie is still extremely critical of him on Twitter. I mean, her Twitter bio is in all caps, impeach the president and all of his men. That's as of today. So Rosie is...
Who's obsessed now?
Yeah, knee deep still. And on the Trump side, again, this all started with him going to the press, calling her a big loser, a real-time loser. The First Lady of the United States is still behind this Be Best campaign against online bullying. That's that. In May of 2007, I want to jump this. I'm not jumping back too far, but this links to where we are today because Rosie and Elizabeth, they had that amazing split screen fight. It was all over the Iraq war. Well, Trump responded to that argument and he said he actually agreed with Rosie as much as he hated to, but he was anti-war. He thought it was ridiculous that we were there. And now here we are in January of 2020 with our current situation in Iran. So, what can you say?
I mean, it's all so strange.
It's a feud that will truly never end because these two
will never end.
These two are so opposite. I mean, the hate she has towards him on Twitter is so real. I mean, the stuff that he said.
They're like opposites, but they're also both alphas. Like they're both not backing down. So they might have different opinions of where they're coming from, but I think their personalities are very similar where they're both like pit bulls. Like they'll get what they fucking want. They won't back down, which, you know, in Rosie's situation in this case is like for the correct cause. But, you know, I think they probably just butt heads because they're both like, oh, so I'm not going to back down? No, I'm not going to back down. And Trump is probably just used to people backing down, aka like every opponent of his, because he's ruthless, but she's like more ruthless.
These two will fight till the end. So different things that come out of this that I still use today are back in 2006, and she said, you know, people were laughing and shocked by her impersonation of what she said about him being the snake oil salesman, and she just said, I don't enjoy him. And I say that all the time. I think it's a good way to say, like certain people like Lisa Vanderpump, like it's an easier way to say it. I just don't care for them. I do not enjoy them. So it's still part of my vernacular. And I love the concept of a celebrity feud, especially a low stakes celebrity feud where it's just like throwing shade just to be shady. This got ugly. And, you know, I mean, the fact that it's still going on in certain forms, I mean, is nonsense. But I like the idea of just like some mudslinging in the press. And that's something we really don't see so much anymore. I can't think of anything beyond like low budget reality stars that really give it to somebody else in the press. Can you?
Yeah, not really, like, because all of like the celebrities in the world right now are so afraid of doing anything just because of social media and how quickly things travel. So it's like at this point, and also how strong cancel culture is, people will cancel anybody for saying anything ever. Whereas like in the past, you know, you'd say crazy shit and then just be like, hey, you know, I'm sorry. Or you don't say you're sorry, and then a couple of years later, people move on. Like Mel Gibson, anyone? Like, remember when? You know, so like
exactly.
Baldwin, like, so if you just like shut up after you do a bad thing, you apologize and keep it moving, people eventually forget, and you can kind of make your way back into like the public eye if you have a skill. You know, Alec Baldwin, all these people, they're good actors, so they've got that going for them. So like, I feel like you can move on. But people are so scared now of like, oh, I don't want to say anything. I don't want to hurt anybody. But obviously, there's a way you can be dramatic without being like racist and disrespectful and rude, like, you know, Trump oftentimes can be. But like, yeah, there's no real feuds anymore. But we do get it with Bravo, which is probably why I'm trying to make a career out of talking about them.
Thank you for taking this ride with me through the Rosie Trump feud on Old Hollywood Talk. Where can listeners find your podcast to hear even more about your take on Bravo?
So you can listen to Bravo Happy Hour every Monday and Thursday. It's a news show, so we kind of talk about the things that are happening in Bravo celebrities' current lives. So we focus more on like, you know, the car going into Lisa's what's it called, pump restaurant, anything that's happening in today's society. Super fun. Check it out. Grant has been on, I think, twice, but you have to come back in 2020 because it's been too long.
Would love it. Let's do it.
Well, thank you for having me on. This was so great. I love your show. And I've actually had people reach out to me being like, oh my God, I heard you on Grant's show. That's how I know. And I actually, a lot of people said that to me. So I love coming on and I love to talk to you.
Thank you. Oh, well, that means so much to me. Thank you for real. You know, I will say I had to step away from the show for a little bit because I was just really sick and I'm still getting back on my feet. And then the holidays and my numbers have taken a hit a little bit. And I feel bad about it because it's just from me being not consistent. So I hope that if you're coming back or you know other people that have listened, that, you know, people will try out the show once again. I want want to make some changes to it and update it because the show is going to be now in its 150th episode, and it's been on for a while. So I want to, give it a little, it needs a little Botox. It needs a little, the ear pinning back.
A little filler.
It needs a couple things going on. So we'll see what happens, but I would love it if you would continue to tell your friends about the show. And for those who have not stopped listening, and for those who have gone back and listened to old shows, amen. God bless you, and thank you for that. For real. I love you for it. And as always, we'll be back with more rants. My thanks to Megan, and we'll be back soon. Thanks.
This has been Grants Rants. Support the rants on Patreon at patreon.com/Grants Rants. Follow Grant on Twitter and Instagram at It's Grants Rants. Cover art created by RHONJ. Voiceover by Original theme music by Alexander Arntzen. The Grant Michael Collection.